This week on The Real Housewives of Potomac.
Digging a hole. Digging a hole.
Don't do that to me because I don't play this game. You can play this game with them, but I'm gonna call you out on your every mother time. So play with somebody else. Don't play with me.
Yo, what is up, everybody? Welcome back. Today we're going to be recapping the new episode of The Real Housewives of Potomac, Season 10, Episode 16. Let's get right into this. Y'all, we don't have a second to spare to talk about this episode because this was an episode that had me glued from the beginning to an end. It was an extended episode, so it was an hour and 15 minutes rather than just an hour. Let's get right into it because a lot of things happened. So we pick up where we left off last week with Gizelle being so nasty and so rude. She announced in front of everybody that she was going to take over the trip and that the girls were going to do what she wanted. And Angel's like, no, we have some things going on tomorrow. And Gizelle's like, well, let's let the ladies decide. They ask Angel, what are they doing tomorrow? And Angel says, I've set up a beautiful day tomorrow. We're going to go fly fishing. And then there's going to be like an open fire lunch. But it's up to y'all. And Gizelle says, or we could be brunching at the hotel instead. And then we could just pack and go back home. And Wendy says, well, what about this? What if we have brunch at the hotel and then we go fly fishing? And Gizelle then asks, well, okay, but Angel, are you going to stay with us tonight? Or do you need to ask Bobby? Gizelle, that is so mean. It just comes across as jealousy and being miserable. It's kind of embarrassing. I know that she's been single for a long time, and does she not understand that communication is a big part of marriage? But I'm glad Angel reminded her. But for now, they are saying goodbye to Aspen. They head back to the private jet that Angel got them. By the way, there was some drama last week. Kay posted this very picture on her social media, but cropped Jazzy out of it. That is so petty. So they hop on the plane and head over to Denver. And they arrive to the hotel, the Four Seasons. And you know what? It was very nice. And they are very glad to be there. And I'm going to be honest, I love a good hotel. I'm not a huge fan of the Airbnbs and rentals when you're going on a trip. I love a great hotel that has all the amenities and is just, nice. I love that. To me, it's like a part of the experience of when you're traveling. So I think what should have happened from the very beginning is that Angel should have just had them in a hotel. And they could have gone to her house like maybe during the day to eat either lunch or dinner, maybe even have like a fire at night, spend some time there, or do the Wonderland activities during the day, but then after that have everybody go back to the hotel. That could have just been such a huge problem that she could have not had from the very beginning with the whole house situation with the water and everything. It would have been one less thing. So once again, they all appreciate the hotel. Gizelle says that the food is coming. She's trying to take control again, but Angel reels it back and says that after dinner tonight, they could go to this cool bar that's nearby where there's like a mechanical bull. She then says, y'all are going to be going home tomorrow. So what we'll do is that we'll have breakfast here at the hotel. Then we will head to the lake to do the fly fishing, and you all will head to the airport at around 2 p.m. Kay then asks Angel, what about our belongings? And Angel says, well, we're going to have to go get them from my house. That's going to be about 2 hours for us to go back and forth. So now the group is thinking that might be a little bit too late for everybody to still go to the bar. But Ashley and Jazzy, the younger ones, they still want to go. Then there happens to be a piano at the room they were all at. Gizelle had the presidential suite, so there was a piano, and I thought it was kind of silly. They all gathered around and they kind of freestyled some melodies, and they were singing about them not having water, but now they do. But they did it in like a cute and funny way, not in like a mean and nasty way that like they had been doing earlier. So that was kind of nice. So that was all we see, because then we see the next morning and it's around 10:30 a.m. and everyone's waking up. We see the girls in their rooms. Now, Angel, Tia, and Kay seem not to be there. Oh, and by the way, it does turn out that Ashley and Jazzy did in fact go to the bar with that mechanical bull, just the two of them. So 10:30 turns into 11:30. Time's going by fast. All the women meet at Gizelle's room, and they say, well, we gotta go. We gotta go do the fly fishing. Now, do you remember I just told you that Angel, Tia, and Kay are nowhere to be found? Well, it turns out they actually never stayed at the hotel. They actually all went back to Angel's house and stayed there. Gizelle and the other ladies think that it is rude. I really don't see the issue. The only thing I could maybe understand is an issue is them not letting them know that they're going to be staying at Angel's house. But what's the whole point of everyone having to stay together? Like, they've been talking about this since the first day they got on the trip. Why can't we all be together when we sleep? Who cares? You're going to be sleeping anyway. But yeah, they didn't stay there. So we see Angel, Kay, and Tia. They are on their way to the fly fishing lake where Angel also has a chef. They explained that they did plan on going back to the Four Seasons, but what ended up happening is that when they had gone back to, get their stuff, it was already around 1 a.m. and it would have been an hour to get to the hotel. So they kind of didn't think there would have been a point to that. So they kind of just decided to stay in the house. But back with the rest of the group, they head out of the Four Seasons and they head out to do the fly fishing. They go on 2 separate vehicles. Gizelle, Ashley, and Monique share one of the vehicles, and we see their conversation. They talk a little bit about their moms, and Gizelle talks about talking to her mom. Now, they bring up the Chris drama again. Remember that long time ago, about 10 episodes ago, when Monique had said to the whole group at a lunch things about Chris, and then it came back to Chris, and the girls had all accused Stacey of being the one who told them. Well, Ashley says that there is now a theory that maybe Angel told Bobby and Bobby told Chris. In the words of Nene, shut up. That is so stupid. That is really stupid. That did not. No, you really think Bobby cares? Is going to be talking to... They really don't... I don't even think they were that close. But Ashley tells Monique that she recently saw Chris at a party. And Ashley asked Chris, are you messing around with Stacey? And Ashley claims that Chris didn't answer and he kind of just looked away. So Ashley is interpreting that as a yes. Ashley, why do you care? And Monique, do you care? And if so, why? You're not with him. Now, if Stacey lied to her, I can kind of see how maybe that could be a little problematic, but yeah, I don't know. It seemed like Monique didn't like Stacey already, even when, there was just rumblings about this rumor. But now that Ashley is trying to make it seem like they are fooling around, Stacey and Chris, that is, Monique, yes, she definitely doesn't like Stacey from what I can tell. Now, Wendy, Jazzy, and Stacey are in another vehicle. They are still talking about Angel, nothing new. But this got heated real fast. So Stacey turns to Jazzy and says, you know what, Jazzy? I was a little shocked to see you kikiing and exchanging numbers with Charrisse at Family Fun Day. And Jazzy says, why? And Stacey says, because I had shared with you and Wendy that Charrisse has been telling people that I'm promiscuous. Now, to remind everybody what Charrisse said, Charrisse claimed that her and Stacey were out having dinner at a restaurant, and there was a guy there who I guess Stacey liked. She was then told that the guy was married, and Charrisse claims that Stacey's response was, it doesn't matter to me, or that's not my problem. Now, I gotta say, Stacey, based on how you were acting with Mauricio, I don't even know if you're telling the truth on that, because she denies it, of course. But anyway, that's not important. The thing is, that's what Charrisse said about Stacey, so Stacey's upset that Charrisse said that, and she's upset that Jazzy gave Charrisse her number. So Jazzy says to Stacey, well, I'm sorry that I hurt your feelings, but, Wendy, let me ask you, do you think I should have handled that differently? Should I have, should I have come at Charrisse and been mad at her, even though it was the first time that I was meeting her? And Stacey says, well, it doesn't matter that it was the first time that you were meeting her. You're my friend. You should not be getting close to people who are saying bad things about me. And Jazzy says, well, Stacey, I can't go around being mad at everybody who doesn't like you or who has said bad things about you because I wouldn't have any friends. And Stacey's just like, oh, wow, okay. So that's when Wendy interjects. And she says, Stacey, the loyalty that you expect from your friends, you need to also give it. And Stacey says, well, I'm loyal to Jazzy, and she knows that. And Jazzy says, well, Stacey, we might as well go there. Might as well put it all on the table. Is it true that you chose to support me by going to my wedding only after you found out that Ashley and Wendy were going? And Stacey says, well, I wanted to support you. I had my event. I was going to launch my business that week, so I had a lot of things going on every single day. And Jazzy says, Stacey, you had the date for my wedding even before you decided to launch this business. You not blocking that date automatically off your schedule is upsetting. Stacey says, well, I never even knew Ashley was going to come to your wedding anyway. Which, by the way, you guys, it's a lie because Stacey is on film talking to Ashley about going to the wedding. They showed it. So that was a lie from Stacey. Wendy says to Stacey, you can play games, but ride or dies don't play games, Stacey. By the way, you guys, pause real quick. Wait a moment. Remember I told you that Angel, Kay, and Tia are on their way to fly fishing? Well, they've been driving for a while. It's been a while, and they're lost. They're lost. The GPS keeps changing, and it looks like they're lost. Meanwhile, the flight departs in about 3 hours. But anyway, let's go back to Wendy, Stacey, and Jazzy, because this was heated. Stacey is kind of going in circles, and Jazzy asks one more time, is it true that you were not coming to my freaking wedding until you found out that Wendy and Ashley were going? And Stacey says no. And Wendy gets mad at this point. She says, Stacey, I literally called you and told you, Stacey, you were not going to look good. It's going to look effed up if you don't go to this wedding. You then gave me a bunch of excuses, and I said, girl, who gives a F? If your friend is getting married, you go to your friend's wedding. And Jazzy, I never wanted to say this to you because I didn't want you to be upset, but since Stacey, you want to sit here and lie, then there it is. Ooh. So Jazzy's like, oh wow, okay. And yes, Stacey, Charrisse can have my number. Ooh. Stacey says, I understand you being hurt. Well, before that, they kind of stopped talking for a little bit, but then after that, Stacey says to Jazzy, I understand you being hurt, but if we're gonna be real, why don't we talk about why we had stopped talking for a while? And then Jazzy says, girl, what are you even talking about? And Stacey says, you were recording phone calls. Let's not forget that you and I were talking about this group, and we had a lot of calls, and there was one time that I heard something say, you are being recorded. If you were my friend, you wouldn't be recording me. And then Jazzy's like, are you dumb? Are you dumb? You're the one who sat your tall, beautiful ass next to me, coming to me about giving Charrisse my number the whole time that you didn't want to come to my wedding until you knew that others were coming. Don't flip this on me. This is about you who we're talking about. And Wendy's also on Jazzy's side. Now, y'all are not going to believe this. Time's going by. Angel still can't find where she needs to go. They're literally lost. They get in the middle of a hill. It's kind of scary for a moment. And I can't imagine the impotence that Angel must have felt in that moment. Can you imagine driving, and you're not just driving regular roads. You're driving roads that are like on mountains and hills, and it's kind of scary. And you don't know where you're going. You know that you've got to meet people there. I don't know what I would have done. I would have probably just I don't know. Now, these other girls, the ones that are in the two separate vehicles, they've been on their vehicles for about 3 hours. So eventually they stop at a gas station. There's a food truck. They're really hungry, so they might as well buy some food, because what the hell, what else are they going to eat? And they order, and then Ashley calls Angel, because they haven't really checked up on them either. And Angel explains to them this whole fiasco and how they've been driving for hours and hours and hours, and they're lost. She doesn't know where they're going, and they all kind of go in on Angel, and she says, I'll take it. I've beat myself enough. They were mad. They were really mad. Gizelle started to go in, and I get it, but they have every right to be upset this time, because I do think this was poor playing on Angel's side, especially knowing that it was the day that they were going to leave to the airport. They should have been out of the hotel at around 8 a.m. maybe to know for a fact they were going to have enough time. So that was a miscalculation on Angel's part. However, I did not like them going in on Angel so aggressively through the phone because she was driving. That's dangerous. That is dangerous. Anyway, nobody has yet made it to the fishing excursion. And even if they were to get there, the excursion is about 2 hours from the airport. So there is just no way that's going to happen. No one's going to be able to go. So that really marks the end of the girls' trip. Angel then calls the chef to cancel everything because nobody's coming. I feel bad because the food looked really good and it looked like they had, like, the meat was like quality meat, and I hope it didn't all go to waste. Anyway, back to the ladies at the gas station. They just ate gas station food and they loved it, but you know what? When you're hungry, when you're really hungry, anything will be good. So Gizelle and the others want to know how their car rides went. Wendy says, well, our car ride was interesting. It was rough. And Jazzy says, yes, let's go ahead and talk about it. Stacey expressed that she was taken aback by me exchanging numbers with Charrisse after Charrisse had disrespected her. Wendy chimed in and told her that if she expected loyalty, she needed to match it. So then I said, speaking of matching it, you didn't match it when it came to my wedding. Stacey began distancing herself from me and stopped talking to me until she felt the heat of this group and needed to talk to me. And then, everyone's like, ooh. Jazzy says to Stacey, I see the good in you, but I also see a lot of bull. Beep. And y'all already know Gizelle and Ashley were loving this. Stacey says to Jazzy, well, you want to be a friend to everyone just so you can secure a spot. And a friend to everyone is a friend to none. And all the other ladies are like, no, Stacey, that's not true. And Wendy says to Stacey, you started it. You brought up this whole Charrisse situation with Jazzy in the car. And Stacey says to Wendy, what are you talking about? And then Wendy says, don't play with me, because I will call you out, Stacey. What the F are you talking about? What am I talking about? I will call you out on all your bull-ish in front of everybody, every single mother effing time. Don't play with me. Let me tell y'all, Wendy was really, really mad at Stacey in this moment. So Stacey, maybe she felt embarrassed. She got up and left. And she goes into some car and grabs her bags. And it's like walking away. So Ashley and Wendy go after her. And they're like, what are you doing? And Stacey says that she's going back home alone. She says to Wendy, you just screamed at me in front of everyone. You're not my friend. Wendy says, I have been the only one who has defended you. When everybody in this group hated you, I've had your back. Stacey says, did you? And then Wendy's like, oh, okay. Remember you said that. And then she walks away. Now, back at the table, Jazzy is in tears. Now, Jazzy, come on. I get being mad at Stacey, but you were not that close to her to be this heartbroken. I mean, come on. She was in tears and everything. And Monique, like I said, I can tell she don't like Stacey because she was getting in on Jazzy's ear talking about, well, maybe she wasn't your good friend after all. I clocked that. The ladies have to go. Wendy then talks to Stacey one more time because she does care about her at the end of the day. And Wendy says, Stacey, you cannot say that I'm not your friend the moment that we don't see eye to eye on something. And Stacey says, but it looked like you were on Jazzy's side. And Wendy pretty much says, well, I am on this situation. Stacey says, I've been ganged up on and I just don't need you to be part of the gang up. But then they kind of make up and they kind of, they hug it out. And then, you guys, we begin to get the finale cards. On Housewives, every time on the finale, we see, an update on each of the women, what happened after filming. So something that was notable was that Gizelle actually lost the legal battle to obtain her father's will. That was a huge loss for her. I know that was really important to her. We found out Ashley and Josh got back together. Kay and Greg are still together. Stacey's still with Themo. We obviously see that Wendy and Eddie got arrested 3 months after filming. Tia, she's good with her sister and family. Nothing too much on her card. But Angel did buy a home in Potomac. And I feel bad for her. They showed a little bit more of her on the car ride with Tia and Kay. She's really disappointed in herself. She hates how everything turned out. She feels like she has tried, but everything that she's tried, it's just been a total fail this season. And I do feel bad for her. There are times when I get, like, it happens rarely, but I get these dreams, you guys, that are kind of like, I hate them. It's dreams where I'm trying to run from a situation and I can't physically, like, I'm running, like, my legs are running, you know, like, my legs are moving, but I'm not moving. I hate when I dream that. I'm sure it means something, but I feel like that's what Angel felt this season. That, like, no matter what she did, she just couldn't do anything right, and I feel really bad for her. I will say, like I said earlier, I do think this day was a big fail on her end, because on the house thing, I give her some grace. Now, granted, I wasn't the one there, so I understand that the other girls had their frustrations, not having water, and whatever the case may be. But it's not like Angel did that on purpose. You know, she doesn't own that home. She would have never have known that. But on this one, I do hold her more accountable, because if she knew the girls had to leave to the airport, and you knew that fly fishing in and of itself takes some time, it's going to take some time to get there, to leave. Like I said, you should have been there with the girls and said, we need to get up early, ladies. We have to head out, to give us time. Do a little fishing, 20, 30 minutes. Then we can eat and y'all can go to the airport. That was not planned properly. But nevertheless, we then see a confessional where Gizelle, towards the end, she says that the Grand Dame would have hated this trip. She wouldn't have made it past Aspen at all. And she says, but, you know, she's actually in a better place than where we are. She's in prison. And then, you guys, we see that 2 months later, cameras went back up and they filmed the outside of the Montgomery County Detention Center. And we see the Grand Dame, Keiarna Huger, come out. She is free. Hallelujah. Well, she's been free, but she is officially free on our screens. It was great to see her come out of prison. And as soon as she got in that car, there were already cameras in there filming for the show. And that was the end of the episode. Epic episode, you guys. Next week, we will get the one-on-one sit-down with Andy Cohen and Keiarna Huger. I'm a little confused because I know cameras went back up again when Wendy and her husband Eddie were accused of criminal wrongdoings. I don't know if they'll show that next week or if that's even another episode that they're going to show after. I'm sure they probably are going to milk this as much as they can, so I wouldn't be surprised if it's 2 more episodes after this week. But this was an epic episode. Great to see the Grand Dame. The trip, oh man. But you know, as bad as it was for the ladies, it gave the show a lot of content. We got 4 episodes out of this trip. That's a lot. And as far as the whole Wendy and Stacey of it all, you guys are not going to believe this. I'm used to being on the unpopular opinion train. I'm actually Team Wendy. I'm not a fan of Stacey. I don't dislike her. I don't like the gang ups either, but I'm also not a fan. I do see through her. I think she's playing a character, and I am glad that Wendy called her out on her BS, because it's probably true. You weren't going to go to her wedding, but you went because you thought it would be beneficial for the show. And I mean, if it's, I don't know, you gotta own it. In the words of Lisa Rinna, own it. But anyway, you guys, whew, like I said, there was a lot this episode. So let me know what your thoughts and opinions were. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll catch y'all next time. Y'all have a great one. Bye.